Radio. This is Webster Tarpley speaking to you as usual from Washington, D.C. The principal focus of world events remains the second wave of the world economic depression, which is now lashing the world. And in particular, this week it has taken the form of the beginnings of fear. Some might even say elements of panic creeping into various markets, as they're called, around the world, various places where speculators and parasites, high-frequency traders, hedge fund operators gather. They're now getting frightened about the status of their looting rate and, above all, their ability to prop up the $1.5 quadrillion derivatives bubble. And we've seen various symptoms this week. In particular, we would point to the collapse of the stock of Citibank, one of the largest zombie banks and the most zombified of all the large banks. The shares of Citibank on Wednesday, I guess it was, took a dive of 17% within 5 or 10 minutes, and the stock had to be halted. And there was in a whiff of panic on the New York Stock Exchange. Now, immediately they say this was because of an error. This was some kind of fat-fingered. The story's now fat-finger, or they're publicizing a drunken trader story, not so much on this, but in general. And then the stock was halted, and by the time it restarted, it had gained back 8 or 9% of what it had lost. But the Citibank stock that day still closed down 7%. This indicates that we are skating now on a terrain where catastrophic events may loom. And I would pose the main question of economic analysis. Are we near the point where the bottom falls out? The bottom falls out of this ship of speculative fools, which is called the world financial markets. The forces of world economic depression remain hugely powerful, and in particular, the impetus for world economic depression comes from this cancerous, kited mass of bankrupt derivatives, $1,500 trillion of kited, bankrupt, toxic paper derivatives. And the only question is political manipulations to make those explosive, depressive forces go in one direction or another. Now, last year, for most of the second half of 2009, the Anglo-American financiers from their fortresses in City of London and Wall Street were taking it on the chin. They were getting hit as the dollar seemed to be collapsing from June, July, all the way to the first week of December, at which point they, with Soros as the leading element, although not the main force, but simply the light cruiser leading this predatory speculative fleet, began attacking Greece, the southern tier of the euro, Portugal, Spain, Italy, Ireland, and used this to try to shift the focus of the depression away from the U.S. dollar, the obviously bankrupt zombie banking communities of the City of London and Wall Street, to try to shift that over into continental Europe, Euro land, Frankfurt, Paris, Milan, and Spain, and then the rest of these places, Greece and Portugal. And now we've had 6 or 7 months where the main forces of the crisis, again, the bankruptcy, depressive forces, have been lashing Europe. But now we've reached a point where that is beginning to become unclear, in the sense that the Anglo-Americans had, as you've heard on this program, had planned a blitzkrieg, a lightning war against the euro, leading to a panic crash of the euro. They were talking about parity. They wanted it to go down to 1-to-1, and it had been at about $1.30 to buy a euro. They wanted that to go down to $1 to €1, which would have been a significant collapse and might have led to an uncontrollable panic flight. They were lining up pension fund directors and central bankers and others saying it's time for you to dump the euro at the end of May, the beginning of June. And when this didn't work, you saw the Financial Times coming out with stories. China is about to drop the euro. Turns out not to be true. Iran is about to drop the euro. Euro here, euro there. Italy about to go. Hungary about to go, which is not the euro. Nevertheless, this has not worked. The blitzkrieg has bogged down. And as the Germans found in the Soviet Union in October, November, December of 1941, there's nothing more dangerous than to be a part of a blitzkrieg that bogs down when you fall short of your objectives and the blitz does not blitz and the panic and the shock and awe doesn't quite make the goals that you wanted. You're left sitting out there in a very advanced and exposed position. So that seems to be the predicament of the Anglo-American financiers right now. Therefore, what happens next is somewhat uncertain. You can see world stock markets today, and this is now, we're recording on Friday, July 2nd, ahead of the holiday weekend. They're mixed. It's not clear which way it goes. However, we can say the following. Compared to the dollar, the euro is strengthening. Compared to the dollar, the yen has strengthened very significantly. Compared to the dollar, even the arch-bankrupt British pound, which is held up by nothing but pure speculation, is also up. So this would indicate dollar weakness. On the other hand, everybody is piling into U.S. Treasury bonds in order to seek safe haven in the storm. So you can see a kind of countervailing tendency. The currency goes down, but the Treasury bonds go up. How long can this last? Certainly not forever. If we look at the underlying economy, the unemployment report this morning, 150,000 U.S. jobs lost in the most recent reporting period. 650,000 people have dropped out of the workforce in despair. They were not caught up in the hope and change message from the faker in the White House. So even that meant that the unemployment rate went down from 9.7 to 9.5 official, and these are fake, massaged, cooked statistics. Nevertheless, it's not good. It's bad news. Ultimately, it's bad news politically for Obama. So the question is, when does all of this explosive force of bankruptcy and insolvency and the need to find loot to prop up this 1.5 quadrillion, it essentially requires that whole sectors of the world economy be thrown in to the meat grinder in order to produce the kind of income, the kind of short-term predatory looting that would be needed to prop up the Anglo-American derivatives bubble, because most of it is in the Anglo-American sector, although not all. We're looking at the Kerviel trial, right, with this Jérôme Kerviel of Société Générale, and you can see what kinds of speculative chicanery goes on also in Euroland. We've got this pattern of Soros attacking Germany. I think we mentioned this last week. Soros' speech in Berlin, Soros' op-ed in the Financial Times, attacking Germany as responsible for the Depression and attacking Germany as leading to a period of renewed warfare in Europe, tremendous ethnic upheavals, right-wing extremists coming forward, essentially Soros threatening chaos over Europe, with the full idea that the left-wing side of the chaos, as well as quite a lot of the right-wing side, is funded by Soros. And we'll get back to that in just a minute.